Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my hotness. And for those of welcome to my channel. My bad. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. I was that part of the unfreezing process. Okay, sidebar. Oh my gosh. There was this series of movies called Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, and went on to Austin Powers, Goldfinger, and all this stuff. What I didn't realize was that in a seemingly blink of an eye, 23 years have passed since that first Austin Powers. So they probably were, between 23 and 17 years ago. So this was so funny. I'm with a substitute, let's just say, who was only probably like 27 or 28. Needless to say, they'd never heard of Mike Myers. I'm sure they've heard of Saturday Night Live, but definitely not Austin Powers. So anyway, we were talking, and at some point I said, is that part of the unfreezing process? And he didn't laugh, and that was okay. It was a cheesy joke. So I was like, whatever. That poor little guy, his brain, you could just see the wheels totally turning. And we continued to talk. There were other people in the conversation. And finally he said, oh, okay. So you were referencing... Hold on. So you were referencing climate change, right? Like the unfreezing. It was brilliant. I completely dated myself. And even in saying dated myself, I probably doubled on it. Anyway, it was just brilliant. So innocent, so cute. And nobody knows what the unfreezing process is anymore. It's all good. Okay. Anyway, we are in the middle of Self-Care September, and you know how you have to affirm things? I'll affirm I'm hot until I'm hot, okay? So for today, and if you're just joining us, don't worry, you're right on time. You can take care of yourself at any time, any month, any year, any day. But for those of you who have been following, today was the 8th, and the intention for today was notice the things you do well today, however small. And I will have to absolutely praise myself for working with 32 kids online, a mile a minute. I didn't take a breath. Like seriously, we go from 8:45 until 11 o'clock. And for that entire time, like any time, I don't get a potty break. I don't get to leave. I'm on every single second. I'm, a combination between Disney and Nickelodeon so that kids aren't tempted to change the channel. And I went for broke. And then we actually have a lunch break. We get 35 minutes. And then there's like 45 minutes of answering questions, responding to kids, families, whatever. So I'm pretty much on at that time, but I did get that break. And then we go again from 12:30 until 3:15. And it is chronic. Well, today was Tuesday, which happens to be our days that we have our staff meeting directly following school. So 5 minutes later, I was in a staff meeting until 4:45. What I did really well was at no time did I get impatient. Did I lose my temper? Did I give up on anybody? I mean, seriously, I was full of grace, honestly, full of grace. What was beautiful was that a friend of mine sent me a virtual dinner, knowing how exhausted I was. It's not the best. And it was on my plan, even better. Oh my gosh, yes. Low-fat, raw vegan, just enough fat. Plant-based, of course. Nothing I needed and everything I needed and nothing I didn't. Let's go with that. But it was the best. Are you kidding me? This gracious dinner saying, hey, I bet you've had a long day. Completely. Who knew that a virtual dinner would actually be satisfying in that moment? It absolutely was. So I was so grateful for that. Another thing, Tanny Raw, and if you haven't heard of her, look her up on any social media platform. She is a health phenom for all things raw, healthy, the entire person. Anyway, one thing that she always says is that there's inevitably going to be something in our inbox. And of course, the best way to approach your life every day anyway is choosing health so that you can handle whatever's in your inbox. So I was in the middle of teaching when I suddenly got a post from family saying that my precious cousin Kathy had a severe heat stroke. She lives down in San Diego, and I think it was like 112 or 14 or something on Sunday. And I know she takes medication. I am so grateful to be off all medication. But I remember when I was taking medication that several of them had heat warnings. And the medication literally said, stay out of direct sunlight, can increase the effects of the sun in like exponentially, like 2 to 4 times. And I was pretty good about it. But she absolutely takes some of those same medications that I used to take. And I imagine whatever she was doing, she loves to take walks, overdid it, ended up in emergency and intensive care. And today her family, and of course in the horrific COVID circumstance, right, which is very limited, were there because the doctors were implying that she may not make it. Like, honestly, her organs were shutting down. And I immediately got on prayer patrol, and I asked all those prayer warriors, and like I said, there's literally hundreds of thousands of people willing to pray, and just ask them all. I mean, of course, God's will be done. There's nothing I can do about that. And in the COVID, I certainly can't jet down to San Diego to see her because it's just not practical to do so. And if they're going to let anybody in, of course, I want it to be her most immediate family with her siblings. But I love Kathy. I pray for her all the time. She has not had an easy walk, and the family's just in shock. They're just like, what was she thinking? Why was she even outside? What was she walking in this heat for? Whatever. Who knows what choices led to that? But that suddenly was in my inbox while I was teaching and while I was doing everything. And I wanted to just stop and say, you know what, you guys, I'll be back. Or, hey, I got to end my day. And it just wasn't practical. It was that idea of reminding myself that though certainly an emergency and worthy of prayer, it was nothing I could do anything about in that moment. Certainly eating over that. Fit throwing over my own experience with heavy psychotropic medications and everything. I don't even know all the terminology, which was such a roller coaster, and I'm so grateful to be off of all of it. But it served me at the time. Like, to spend too much time in all of that wasn't going to help Kathy. She's exactly where she needs to be with whoever needs to help her. Bird, Mama's doing her video. Stop that. Yeah, you. Stop that. Jeez, if it ain't a dog, it's a bird. And a plane and Superman, yeah. All right, but it worked. Praise God, you hear that bird? No, you don't, because that bird's like, dang, Mama's on it. All right, anyway, that is what I just wanted to share, because I luckily did not act out on all of that and only turned it into prayer. So again, today was to notice the things you did well today. What I did well today was care for my students, take on all the stress that came my way without overreacting, and handling what is my side of the street and what I'm capable of handling, and not trying to fix or do what belongs to others. All right, so for tomorrow, day 9, and again, if you're just joining us, don't worry about it. There's 30 days of wonderful coming your way, is avoid saying, I ought to, or I should to yourself. This is commonly known as don't should on yourself, which I've heard in the 12-step program forever. Stop shitting on yourself. And yes, I'm acutely aware of the play right there on words. But anyway, avoid saying I ought to, I should have, all those things. You know what? You're exactly where you're at. You're doing probably the best you can with what you have. And if you actually stay in the moment, again, Saint Therese of the Little Flower, I'm pretty sure that's the right one, was so amazing, because she really understood that whatever we did in our daily life, if we truly gave all of our energy and attention to it, it was more than enough. Like the idea that we have to go to other countries, and I'm not knocking missionaries. I'm so grateful to them, of course, and certainly those who have come to America as missionaries. But really, you're called to be a missionary in your own backyard. You know, who can you touch immediately around you? And I get the whole thing that often people aren't accepted in their own family, in their own, city, in their own country or whatever. I get that. but let's keep it much smaller than that. And just say that, as I've often asked you, this is my cousin Kathy now in intensive care during a COVID, and I don't know where it's going to go. She may leave the planet, and I'm going to have to trust God on that. But my niece Christine, hello, who's had 13 surgeries for her very broken and now titanium-filled legs and arm, is still very much in the midst of all of that. My nephew Dean, who luckily finally realizes he's in a hospital and was able to voice when asked, do you know where you are? Yes, I'm in a hospital. So beautiful. Are you kidding me? That is like crazy beautiful, but still very much in a hospital, right? All these people. I've never had so many family members at once in the circumstances that they're in, but I have to keep it in perspective. My greatest tool is prayer, for all of them, trusting that they're exactly where they need to be. And so I often, and I know God just says, are you kidding me, Juliana? Because yes, I question him all the time. Yes, I try and negotiate with him. He's like, honey, just like the USA, I don't negotiate with prayer terrorists. And you're being a prayer terrorist right now. You are trying to negotiate with me. And I have been here since before the world, okay? And I will be here after the world. And you're trying to tell me in your simple little life in 2020 that you need to negotiate that with me and that I better say yes? Yeah, that's a no. I can imagine. You're saying no, Father. But on the other hand, he does say, knock and knock, right? Knock and you shall receive. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. I squeak, and it's not just because of my age. So sometimes I'll say, I should have whatever. I should have prayed more. I should have exercised more. I should have this. I should have that. I ought to go out and do that. I ought. And it's like, you know what? Just breathe. Be present where you are in this moment. Serve those directly around you and leave to God, who never sleeps, all of those intentions. And remember that you're just one individual. And that takes grace from me because I am talented and I am called to many things, but I have to find balance there. Right now for today, what I did well was serve all my students. What I did well was fully participate in that staff meeting. What I did well was eat completely right. What I did well was be available to my husband and our animals and care for them. What I did well was choose to stay home so I could breathe because of the fires. And excuse me, it still affected me, but nothing like it would have. So there's a lot of things that I did well. And I'm happy for that. And tomorrow, I'm going to do my best to not shit on myself. Are you in? All right, my friends, like if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the message and that you're choosing Self-Care September for you. And until we talk again, my friends, best of all, know that you're blessed.